Warning, this content is for entertainment and educational purposes only. This video is brought to you by First Detachment Nutrition. Battle tested, expert formulated. Use discount code AB10 at checkout for 10% off. All right, folks, Big Paul here with you today, and I am going to give you the 5 steps for getting huge ass. So you've decided you want to be the next Derek Lunsford, the next Nick Walker. I am going to explain to you all the steps in doing so. It's not complicated, but it's not easy. We're going to dig into all that in just 1 second. All right, so before I dig into these steps, I'm going to quickly touch on people overcomplicating crap. People get caught up in minutia and things that don't really make a big difference in the long run, like injection timing and the osmolarity of their intra-workout shake and what is the optimal time to take this and to do that. That crap doesn't really matter a whole lot if you don't have all your other stuff buttoned up. If your diet isn't clean, you're not training hard, you're not taking the right PEDs, it doesn't matter. So don't get caught up on the minutia. There are so many people I see out there that can't see the forest for the trees. They just get hung up in the little details of things, and that actually impedes and gets in the way of their progress. So don't get too caught up in the minutia. Believe me, I love science. I love digging into things and analyzing things to the nth degree. But at the end of the day, bodybuilding isn't that complicated. All you have to do is look at the thousands of people, tens of thousands of people that have already gotten huge, and the framework is already laid out for you. The dudes that don't overcomplicate or overthink stuff are the ones that get huge. Do you think Phil Heath was that worried about the osmolarity of his intra-workout shake and what the absorption rates are of protein powders versus eating whole foods? Probably not. So let's keep shit simple and not overthink things. Step 1 is to train like a bodybuilder. I don't care if you do HIIT training. I don't care if you do low volume. I don't care if you do high volume training. You need to train with the intent of hypertrophy. You need to train with movements in mind that are conducive to making your muscles grow. You need to focus on your form, and you need to do it in a progressive fashion. And that means increasing volume, or maybe not increasing volume, increasing load. You have to do it progressively with intent over many, many years. People vastly overthink the training portion of this. I've seen people do it in many ways. Now, there are certain ways I think that are more optimal. When you take a look at the pro bodybuilding scene, the majority of the guys on the pro bodybuilding scene are doing some variation of high volume training, typically a bro split or push-pull legs. But for the most part, they're doing the same stuff. Some guys train a little heavier than others. Some don't train quite as heavy, but they're all doing similar types of routines. Step 2 is you must eat clean, whole foods, mostly meat and rice, 5 to 6 times a day for years on end. You're not going to get huge eating Quest bars and drinking protein shakes, eating Subway. Sure, you can get perma-fat. I don't know, you look like a perma-bulker, but you're not going to have a body composition that is conducive to being a bodybuilder if you eat like crap and you eat crap food. I know the if it fits your macros crowd, they get all upset when I say this. And sure, you can get lean on if it fits your macros type of diet. I've seen people go from, in fact, I do it with a lot of my clients. I'll take them down from like 25% to 12% body fat. That's easy to do. But if you want to be a competitive bodybuilder, putting clean, whole foods in your body makes the most sense. It's like buying a Ferrari and putting 87 octane gas in it. Why would you do that? It just makes zero sense. Everybody wants to reinvent the diet and how the diet works. It's really not that complicated. If you look at the history of bodybuilding, All of the dudes that have succeeded and stepped on the Olympia stage, they all do similar types of diets. In the off season, they're eating high carbohydrates. They're eating chicken, beef, maybe whitefish, sprinkle in some vegetables here and there if you can handle them, some EFAs. That's really it. You don't see dudes on the Olympia stage that are doing keto, that are doing carnivore, that are vegans, that are doing Weight Watchers, or whatever your weird ass diet is. They all do the similar type of thing. So one would reason that is the way to get huge. Eat meat and rice 5 to 6 times a day. If you like potatoes better, you can try potatoes, but keep the foods clean, keep the foods whole, eat stuff that's, stay away from processed stuff for the most part. And that's it. That's the formula for eating for bodybuilding. Number 3, this is the one that everybody gets a boner for. PEDs. Yes, steroids and PEDs work, but they aren't the solution to everything. If your diet sucks, if your training sucks, it doesn't matter how many PEDs you take, you're not going to look like a bodybuilder and you're not going to turn into an open class pro. So you need to have your training buttoned up. You need to have your diet buttoned up for PEDs to work. Also, every dude that's small is looking for some shortcut, some secret cycle that's going to get them to the top quicker. DHB, mint, Trestolone, whatever you want to take, IGF-1, all these other things, myostatin inhibitors, all these weird off-the-wall stuff that most pros do not take, it's not going to get you there any faster if your diet sucks and if your training sucks. Most pros I talk to run really simple cycles in the off season. They run testosterone, they run an anabolic or 2. Usually it's something like equipoise, primobolan, or nandrolone. That's it. And then they'll sprinkle in some HGH and insulin when they get to a certain size. That's really it. They may push the doses up. The doses can get higher, but that is a progressive thing as well. You're not going to come out of the gate with 3 grams of gear and expect to get more progress. There's only so much muscle protein synthesis you can generate in a given period of time. It'd be like eating 8,000 calories when you're 160 pounds. You're just going to get fat. If you're a 270 or a 280 pound open class bodybuilder, then that's what you need to grow. It's the same thing with the PEDs. You wouldn't go into the gym at 165 pounds and try to bench press 500 pounds. You're going to snap yourself in half and get hurt. It's the same thing with the PEDs. You progressively work the PEDs up. Number 4. This is getting lean once a year, getting ripped. I'm not talking about getting down to 15% body fat where you can barely see your abs and then turn the permabulk back up. Permabulking does not work. I can tell you with confidence, I tried it myself. I did permabulking all through my 20s, and all I did was get fat. I never got really any bigger. I just got fatter. And everybody I see that's a constant permabulker, they just get fat. It doesn't matter how many PEDs they take. It doesn't matter how hard they train. They don't progress. The optimal way to turn into an open class pro bodybuilder, if you want to be that size, is to get super ripped once a year, reset your insulin sensitivity, reset your digestion, and get a good rebound afterwards. The majority of the gains that you're going to make for the year are probably going to come after the rebound. Your body is more anabolic when you are lean. If you get down to 5% body fat and you have a runway of, say, 8 or 9% of body fat that you can add and still be relatively lean while adding muscle, that is a nice place to be. So you could start at 5%, work your way up to 12 to 13% in your off season, and then you won't have to kill yourself when you cut down the next time. If you're already 20% and you work yourself up to 30% body fat, you're going to lose every bit of muscle that you gained when you cut down, because it's going to be a terrible, horrible cut to get all that body fat off. Plus, the fatter you are, the more of your testosterone converts into estrogen. It's just a simple fact. People don't want to hear this. I know the permabulkers are going to be offended and upset, but permabulking doesn't work long term. Don't waste your time on permabulking. And number 5, I think this is the one that everybody forgets about. Getting huge takes a long freaking time. You have to stay committed to it for 5 to 10 years. If you have elite genetics, you can probably do it in the 5 to 7 year period of time. If you don't, it's probably going to be more like 10 years plus. I have been lifting off and on since I was 16. So something like close to 30 years. If I actually did the math, I've had probably over 20 years of weightlifting under my belt. You talk to a lot of guys that turn pro, or a lot of guys that get huge, they have at least a decade of lifting under their belt. It's only the very elite that don't have that sort of time under their belt. So you have to stay consistent with the diet during this time. You have to stay consistent with your training during this time. You have to stay consistent with your PEDs during this time. If you're constantly hopping from coach to coach, from training program to training program, from diet to diet, quitting cycles, starting cycles, looking for the next best cycle, you're actually going to slow your progress down. If you try to shortcut it by perma-bulking, thinking that I need one more year to get big before I get on stage, you're not going to make it there. I can't emphasize this enough. Bodybuilding requires a lot of patience, a lot of consistency. It's a monotonous, boring job to be a bodybuilder. You just have to do the same crap over and over, day in and day out. And if you don't, you're not going to make it. I see it all the time. I'll see young guys that'll come to me for coaching, and we get 6 weeks in, 8 weeks in, and they're like, I'm not seeing any progress. I'm like, well, no shit, you're not seeing any progress. How much muscle are you going to gain in 6 or 8 weeks? Not a lot. If you look at Nick Walker, he had some of the craziest progress known to man. He gained something like 100 pounds in 8 years. So it ended up being like 12 pounds a year. And that is the extreme in the spectrum. So you do the math on it, that is a pound of muscle a month, a quarter pound of muscle a week. Do you really think you can look in the mirror and see a pound of muscle difference? Your physique's going to really look that much different in a month or 6 weeks? Let's say you gained muscle at half the rate of Nick Walker. Let's say you're gaining a half a pound every month. Do you really think you're going to see 0.1, 2 pounds difference in the mirror every week? You're not going to notice that. So you have to stay patient. You have to stay persistent. So many people get impatient. So many people want to shortcut the process, and then they end up just setting themselves back from doing it. Stay consistent. Stay patient. It takes a long time. All right, folks, that's all I got for you on this one. Put your comments in the comment section below. I'm sure some of you are going to think I'm absolutely wrong about this. I want to hear why. Also, if you want to support me, support my sponsor, First Detachment Nutrition, quality supplements formulated by the man himself, Justin Harris. Discount code is AB10 at checkout for 10% off. Link is in the video description below. Thank you for watching. For coaching or consultations, head over to www.anabolicbodybuilding.com to book your spot today. I can help you with optimizing hormones, fat loss, muscle gain, physique, athletic performance, nutrition, and health. For more information, shoot me an email at bigp3rd@gmail.com.